Detroit, and the world. Welcome to another episode of Authentically Detroit, broadcasting live from the Lower East Side here in the city of Detroit, powered by the East Side Community Network and sponsored by none other than the Ford Foundation, now a concert partner to the new bridgedetroit.com. I'm Orlando Bailey.
And I'm Donna Davidson.
Thank you for listening in and supporting our efforts to build a platform of authentic voices for real people on the east side of Detroit. We want you to like, rate, and subscribe to our podcast on whatever platform you listen to us on. We drop a new episode every week, so be sure to turn on those notifications. Today, we are reunited and we are feeling good. So let's catch up on all the happenings here in the city and hear the latest from Donna because, as Suge Avery says, she's married now. She's married now. We are delighted to welcome Donna's husband, artist, and director of design at the Charles H. Wright Museum for African American History, Kevin Davidson. Kevin, welcome to Authentically Detroit.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
We are so excited to have you here. I think we're going to release this video too so everybody can see y'all all hugged up next to each other. Oh man, it's so good to see you guys. Welcome back. Welcome back. How is everybody doing?
Well, we're getting back. It's and you know, there's a lot of readjusting back to the work life and the pace of everything in the community. We were really blessed with a number of gifts, which we did not expect from our wedding. I want to tell you, we weren't even planning on even asking or registering. And then people kept asking us, so at the last minute we registered, and what a blessing. But
where
now
you
we
register at?
Figure out Target.
Okay, good. No, I know, because you were like, we're not asking for gifts. Yeah, I remember that.
So I was going to register at Bed Bath & Beyond, but Kevin told me that was too bougie for some people. He said, just register at Target. Because everybody, because Bed Bath & Beyond, that's my place, but you want to make sure that people don't feel obligated to do too much.
Target is bougie now for a lot of folks. Target done got high.
Well, yeah, but, you know, I did compare prices. Some things were the same and some, you know, they started with the upper tier of whatever. So, yeah, we tried to have a mix.
And Target has the perception of bouginess.
I mean, you
more so than it is bougie. Yeah. I think it, but.
How y'all feeling? Y'all feeling good, though?
Great.
Oh, man, I'm so happy to see you all together. I get to see them together probably more than everybody else, but it's just good that Kevin has decided to join us on the show. And Kevin's our guest. So today's show will really be, you know, we're going to do our fresh off the press, but I got questions for this newlywed couple that I want to get into. I was talking to Donna via text the other day, and I said, you give a lot of people hope. And she was touched because it's a message that she has been receiving over and over again. And I would say you've been receiving that message over and over again because it's true. It is a truism and it is real. So I'm happy that folks will be able to see you guys together and hear you guys on the airwaves together talking about your love journey. I'm so excited. It's time. Also, I should also mention that we are recording on a day that has been dubbed Detroit's Memorial Day. The city of Detroit honored victims of COVID-19 today, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I just wanted to say that up front. I wanted to make sure that we encapsulate that in this little capsule.
Orlando, where are you?
I am home in my new loft.
Oh, I knew it was something different.
It's
I was
beautiful.
like, wow.
Yeah.
So now we're going to have to visit you in your new
You guys have to come. I would love to host you guys for dinner, and I'll cook. Let me know what you eat and what you don't eat, because I love to cook. Donna's only ECN. They only let me make my my chicken chili. They didn't let me make anything else, so I can cook something else for y'all.
Oh, we're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Congratulations on your new home. So we are both in a new place right now. New you, new me, new Authentically Detroit. We're gonna out with the old, in with the new. I'm really excited for you, Orlando. I'm as excited for you as you are for me in getting married, because I know how much it means to you. So thank you.
Thank you. And you know, that excitement is real, and I appreciate it. You're right about it. Really just being a journey. This year alone has been the testing and the trying of our faith in so many ways. Just when we thought that, okay, we're over this hump, another one comes, and somehow we have managed to get back up, like that thing that's weighted on the bottom that the people punch, the kids punch, and it comes right back up. We're like that. We just keep coming up.
You know, in my mind, I always think of myself as a phoenix, you know,
Yeah.
because I just keep coming back. And you may think you took me out, but here I come.
Oh, no, that's right. I love it. I love it.
God gives us that. God gives us the ability to bounce back and to be renewed. And a lot of times we don't think we have that. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that this is a time where you really want to celebrate renewal, even as you acknowledge pain, grief some people in the community are facing, even as we speak.
Yeah, and Donna and I both have birthdays coming up. My birthday is on Wednesday, so my Virgo petty is at its peak right now because you know I have been saying.
Listen, my Virgo is so ridiculous. Let me tell you a Virgo story. We applied for this grant. We didn't actually apply. Some people came to us having written it and needing an entity to apply for them. They thought they were going to go through a fiscal sponsor, and they found out they needed a principal investigator. So they asked us to do it. So there are 4 entities in this grant. 3 people from ECN are part of the grant, myself, Ricky, and Michelle. And then there's 2 other people, KT and Renee Wallace, are also in it. How about this? 4 of the 5 people in this proposal are Virgos.
Renee Wallace is a Virgo?
Yeah.
Renee Wallace is a Virgo?
Renee Wallace
That's why I love her.
Right, exactly. And I
was to get her on the show.
So, needless to say, we are finalists in this grant for $600,000, starting a composting initiative in Detroit to try to demonstrate climate equity practices. So I know very little about composting. I didn't sit through any of Michelle's classes, so I'm going to have to learn a lot so I can actually sound reasonable as a principal investigator of this project. But when I realized there were 3 out of 4 of the people, I don't know when KT's birthday is, she may pop up on the 15th or something, and then 5 out of 5. But you know, there's a certain amount of pride when Virgo just does stuff, right?
Yes.
I don't know what it is. We are that one astrological sign that really likes each other.
Yes, we really do get along with each other. Yeah. Yes. And I was telling the newsroom earlier today, we were discussing something, and I'm like, I'm just going to keep my mouth closed because my birthday is coming up and my Virgo petty is at its peak. Like, I am good. Y'all know Donna can be petty, and I live for Donna's brand of petty. But man, it's been trying to ooze out of me this week too. So it's been a lot of fun. So I would say this, Donna, birthdays take on an entirely new meaning this year. And I'm not gonna cry because I'm feeling away this weekend and this week actually. But birthdays are another reason to just stop, reflect, and be thankful. So thankful. So as I approach 31, I am just filled with immense gratitude for all of the relationships, the friendships, the love, the support, the life that we are able to continue to enjoy on this earth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
It's been great. It's been great. All right, y'all. It's time for Fresh Off the Press, news that we are thinking about. If you have pieces that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Donna, Fresh Off the Press.
Detroit protesters filed lawsuit over brutal violence from police. ML Elric at the Detroit Free Press is reporting. Wow. So I don't know if people realize it was at August 23rd where the police chief decided to crack down with violence for people who violated a curfew. And he stands there with straight face and says, well, this wouldn't have happened if they hadn't violated the curfew. And I'm not going to say he sounds like the Kenosha police chief who says that Those people would not have been killed if they had not violated a curfew. But it seems as though if our law
It's
enforcement
eerily similar.
were trying to enforce our constitutional rights as much as they were trying to enforce peace and order and the silence and submission of a certain population, we might have a more just nation. So I was really happy to see the protesters sue. Now, the Corporation Counsel Garcia, is that his name, says that he's
Lawrence
excited
Garcia.
about this
Yes.
because they can countersue. And I think that this is exactly where it needs to happen in the court of law. If I attended courtrooms, I would sit here for that, because there is so much hyperbole coming from Detroit police. Police Chief Craig says, well, when people are going to protest, they don't wear bulletproof vests or they don't dress like this. And I'm thinking, well, when police are going to enforce peace, they don't put on riot gear. So we can have this conversation both ways, but we only seem to be having it one way. And one of my Facebook friends, who is a public employee for the city of Detroit, I'm not going to name him because whatever, posted something yesterday on Facebook. He asked the question, who benefits? He says, well, we need to look at who benefits. Who benefits from lawlessness and disorder during these protests? And I said, well, law and order folks benefit, because what they end up being able to do is invalidate the purpose of the protest, try to push back against the police reform, and also just continue with their violation of human rights. So in my opinion, the only people who benefit are police officers who continue to escalate violence, who continue to create a framework where people end up harmed and then deny it, even though I'm looking at it on television. So I'm glad that this case is going to see the light of day. What are your thoughts on this?
I absolutely think it is asinine for a police chief to be mad about protesters not heeding to a curfew. Isn't that what civil disobedience is supposed to do as we exercise our First Amendment rights? And so I think that this is a war not only with Detroit Will Breathe and people who join in with them in their fight for racial justice, the defund the police movement, and so many other things and demands that they have. But I said that this is also a war, a narrative war that we must name and refute, right? I tweeted the other day because I was just really tripping off of the headline that called a 17-year-old white kid an aspiring cop who came from Illinois to Kenosha and shot people dead in the streets. There was a news article that called him an aspiring cop. So as much as there is an all-out war on Black life, there's also a narrative war that we must name and refute. And that is what we see happening from the podium at the White House. The president is in a press briefing right now spewing hate and lies, but it's consistent in his messaging, right? And we see it happening here in the city of Detroit, where we have a police chief and a mayor who doesn't sound that far off from the rhetoric that the president has been spewing from a national stage. And it is disheartening. It is disheartening, and it is a war of narrative. And we have to name it, and we have to speak fact to it.
You know, when I was in Atlanta, I was at the Civil Rights Museum, and I watched I saw a exhibition on the what was the bus, right? The Freedom Riders.
The Freedom Riders, yeah.
And you know, a good number of those Freedom Riders were white. A good number of those Freedom Riders were not protesting on their own behalf. They were protesting on behalf of people. But you know, but it was okay to kill them. It was okay to beat them because they were race traitors and they were portrayed as intruders into somebody else's movement. And I think we have to be really, really cautious about how we allow those things to be framed, because the two men who were killed in Kenosha were white men. That's right. Who were out there demonstrating on behalf of civil rights. And Are we saying that you can't fight this for me, or are we saying we need allies? Because as long as I live, I will never understand how 15% ever constitutes majority and how we're going to get there alone. We need allies, and we cannot abandon our allies because it's convenient. And so I stand with protest. I stand with the right to protest. And just like the president stood with his Nazi friends and other people talked about free speech, and we had people demonstrating in Michigan State, we had Nazis walking through Detroit last year under the auspices of the police chief, and people come armed and dangerous in our capital, just like they have a right to demonstrate and exercise their constitutional rights. Assembly and speech comes first in the Constitution, and I will stand by that and stand against anybody who tries to get in its way, even when it's inconvenient. So I feel very passionately opposed to all of the rhetoric around this, and this idea that Detroit doesn't have a problem around racism and police violence when we've had how many police shootings in the past 2 months, you know. And the way that the police chief describes it is, well, they've never been so crazy. These criminals, he describes Black criminals in Detroit in the same way that white police chiefs describe them in other places, as if they have inhuman qualities, and as if you don't have to recognize their value as people. But at the same time, we see police officers really protecting the rights of white people who demonstrate. So Kevin, I do want to let you in on this because I get excited, but I want you to be able to share your thoughts.
Well, I think that, you know, this goes, you know, back to, you know, 1619 and really beyond that. When we were brought to the shores of what is now this nation, you know, we have had to revolt. Even before we got here, on the ships, we had to revolt. And, you know, this has been systemic over all of this time. You know, this nation has sought to do away with our constitutional rights and our rights as human beings, you know, and we were regarded as chattel. And so we revolted on the plantations because, you know, we were seeking, you know, basic human rights for ourselves. And so on through the civil rights movement, the first Reconstruction, when Black men gained the right to vote and we had representation in Congress. And then all of that was taken away.
After the Civil War. Yep, absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
And then there was this reign of terror on us. We were lynched, raped, burned for the sake of suppressing what is so fundamentally important to us right now, the vote. And so when they took that away from us, there was another, 50, 60 years before, you know, we could revisit that, you know, but all during that time, systems were put in place to repress our very basic, fundamental human rights. And so right now, as we go out in the streets and we demonstrate, it's like a tradition. It's something that we have to do,
especially
in order to fight for our own human rights and our civil rights in this country and our constitutional rights. And so it is a continuation, and we just have to keep fighting. We'll get there. I believe we're going to get there.
Yeah, I have a friend who says Detroit is the birther of movements. We have a long history of
that's right,
exercising our First Amendment rights in history. Right. And our friend Simone Lightfoot calls Detroit Big Mama.
I like that because it is. It is
Big Mama. And so, I think there is a post that said, and seeing the brutality against the protesters and seeing the narrative that comes after, and seeing what's happening in Kenosha and around the country, they're supposed to say your Black friends are not okay. So we are having a hard time right now. And it's even harder for folks like Donna and myself to process what's going on and then put words to it so that we can have an exchange like this. This is not an easy time, and it is so disheartening to see leadership, Black leadership, frame what is happening in a way that is disparaging to our Detroit citizens exercising their First Amendment rights. That's all I'm gonna say.
Can I just say something real quickly?
Yeah.
The question is who benefits once again,
Yep.
because it's really not just who benefits from disorder, but who benefits from our current structures remaining in place. Unfortunately, there are those of us who benefit at the expense of others. And I think we need to call that out and create some level of accountability where we say that, it would be more politically savvy for me to not say that and to side with the people who are oppressing people who are in the streets. After all, I don't really have a dog in this fight. I'm not a young Black male or a young Black female. And, I'm not really facing directly the kind of abuse that I see other people facing. And so would it be easy for me to accept a certain amount of position and praise to keep me silent? And that's what I see some people doing. I think that we have to fight against that and understand that we are one. And whether or not I'm young, whether or not I'm directly in, experiencing this, my children are, my grandchild will, we're all connected in some way. And when we act in solidarity, we're strongest. And so it is really a call to those people who find it convenient not to care, to say, wait a minute, your ancestors fought, like Kevin said,
Right.
and their ancestors fought. And who are we to stop the fight in 2020?
Right. That's right.
Peter Blackmer, on the point of who benefits, I would say white supremacy benefits from the system staying in place. And Peter Blackmer said this the other day. He said, police serve as the enforcement arm of white supremacy.
Yeah.
But again,
Wow.
more than white people benefit from white supremacy. And when
That's
we
right.
understand that, because you have, sometimes you benefit because of your proximity, right? Your role. And we have to all hold ourselves accountable to that.
I need a bail. I need a bail. I have to find, hold on a second, because I want you to say that again. I got to find a bail. Oh my God, where's our bail, y'all? I want that deserved a bail. Where is it? Here, let me see. I may have something. I'm going to have something. I got to. There we go. No.
That's it.
Okay. Fresh off the
Orlando.
Detroit mourns victims of COVID-19 with the drive-by processional. Several sources are reporting this. And so we are recording, I want to give the date. We are recording this episode on Monday, August 31st, 2020, that has been dubbed by our mayor as Detroit's Memorial Day. And so Rochelle Riley from the mayor's office and a bunch of city departments got together to put together a drive-through memorial for Detroit's COVID victims. We've had, I think the number of deaths in the city of Detroit is up to around 1,500 today, as of today. And families, about 900 families submitted photos of their loved ones that we've lost to COVID. So today, there were multiple funeral processionals for families and friends to drive around and just take in the incredible amount of loss. And so for me, it is hard to fathom and have conversation with anybody who dismisses this as something that didn't affect us or didn't really happen or isn't real. There has been and still is incredible loss in the city of Detroit. Among those loss is our friend Marlo Stoudemire, who is sitting like a G on the island, like the G that he was, along with so many other loved ones and friends. And so if you have not, if you have time this week, go out to the island and pay your respects to your neighbors, to the loved ones of your friends and families, and to some of our best champions. Those people were the best of us. And we want to make sure that we encapsulate that on this episode and acknowledge all of the victims of COVID-19. And we want to encourage everybody to still stay safe, and mask up, and do what you have to do to social distance.
Absolutely.
So on Saturday, Kim Trent sent out the funeral link to her father's funeral, which took place at the Aretha Franklin, and so finally got it. Took a minute for us to really make it work. And so I decided I was going to drive onto Belle Isle and sit and look at the water while I was watching this on my phone. So I drive onto Belle Isle and I turn left like I was required to, and all of a sudden I start seeing these posters. So imagine Calvin Trent's funeral procession is playing in my car, and I'm driving and seeing poster after poster. And probably the most stunning thing was all of the young, beautiful faces, all of the Black faces, faces from every age group, just beautiful. And so I looked for two people who were closest to me. And one of them was Clyda Ellison, who, was like a second mother to me growing up. And unfortunately, her picture was missing. But I kept looking and looking, and, it's in alphabetical order. So it took me a while to get to ST. And then as we were circling back around, going towards the bridge, there was Marlo, and it was so stunning. The picture of him was so alive. He almost jumped off that picture.
That's right.
And I had to pull my car over and take a picture of his picture. So unlike a lot of people who were on the island, I only got him because that's all I could see. It was like, breathtaking and real. And so by this time, I'm just crying profusely by myself, driving around the island in tears. And I had no idea what I was driving into, but hats off to everybody who put that thing together, and to the families who lost. We see, it's one thing to look at a pie chart or a bar graph and see what age groups people are and how many people. And it is another thing to look at faces. And you could not convince me there were not 1,500 faces. It just went on and on and on. It just seemed like it was so long. I couldn't imagine them missing anybody. But there are 600 people who are, so about, I don't know, I'm not going to do the math because I'm too emotional, but a good number, maybe 40%, 30% who are not pictured because there were just so many to picture. So.
Yeah, and it is a form of closure that I think a lot of folks need, because we were robbed of the opportunity to grieve together. We were robbed of the opportunity to be able to gather and celebrate these lives that were a part of our lives for so long. And so I knew that one day when the world begins to open up, that some people wouldn't be here when we were able to look up and go outside. Some people we weren't going to be able to call. I had a moment, I think it was last week, and something was going on, and I wanted to pick up the phone and call Marlo, and I couldn't. And so this is something that we are going to be dealing with for, a long time, being robbed of being able to collectively grieve. That's a part of, especially Black folk, that's just a part of who we are, going to the, you know how we do. We know how to send them off. We know how to transition folks. And we weren't allowed to transition our people the way that we normally would. So hats off to Rochelle for leading that effort. Rochelle Riley, Director of Arts and Culture at the city. We are enamored and amazed by what you all put together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That wraps up our Fresh Off the Press segment. If you have pieces that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on our socials at Authentically Detroit on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, or you can email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. So we don't have any special guests other than Donna's husband, Kevin Davidson. So the featured discussion is about the two of them. They got married, y'all. They got married. So look, I know everybody's interested. Kevin is here. Donna is here. Donna, give us the backstory. Like, how did this happen? How did y'all meet? What's going on? Because this is just, seeing y'all together is just too much. I just love it.
We actually met online.
Yeah.
Come on for the online. Tell people don't write that off. Tell people don't write.
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. Actually, I had had this ridiculous dinner. Somebody invited me out to drinks. I thought it was business, and they were trying to date me. And it was such a crazy conversation that I renewed my online, and I went into this new app. And so Kevin, I saw Kevin, and I immediately assumed that he would not be a good person to meet because, I don't know, he just looks conceited to me. And so I was like, well, I'm not doing that. But, you know, his story was so interesting, I couldn't pass him up. And so he wasn't smiling in his pictures. He was all serious, like,
"Oh, you were stoned."
He was so
I was GQ and stoic.
So he was so stoic. I was like, oh, he had some poses.
Right.
Okay, I was like, okay.
He was smoldering.
Yeah, he was posing. So I was like, no, I don't think so. But his story, you know, he worked for the right, and he was a museum designer, and so much of what he said about himself was fascinating to me. And so I said, well, you know, might as well try. And so I was in Milwaukee at a conference, at Reclaiming Vacant Properties conference. Yeah. And so he called me, and I was in my, you know, room by myself, all by myself. We ended up talking for hours and hours. And then the next day, I was, you know, once again in the conference, and we talked for hours, and I'm trying to remember, I'm so embarrassed. The City Planning Commission, what is her name? Oh.
Catherine Underwood.
I can't even believe I forgot her name, Catherine Underwood. So Catherine Underwood and I were there, and everybody else had left, and we went to see Terrence Blanchard at this theater. And so she's telling me all about how she met her husband. And at the time I was thinking about Kevin, I was just like, wow, you know, he has some of the same qualities that she is saying her husband had. So from my standpoint, that's how we met. Kevin, how do we meet?
Wait, the story's different? Okay. I can't.
Well, I mean, he might have a different, you know, I don't know if I was stuck up too. I don't know, but you know, I wasn't posing like that. I tell you that.
I think first and foremost, when I was online, and it was the first online dating service I went to. And the thing that struck me about her was that, first of all, she was just so beautiful to me. Aww. I couldn't get past her. That's like, wow, she is absolutely gorgeous. And I read her profile, and we had, you know, a lot in common. You know, we love theater, this, that, and the other. And I love the fact that she was a professional woman, you know, with master's degree and all of that stuff, you know. And once we started talking, it was like, you know, two magnets coming together. Wow. You know, and you know, we just thoroughly enjoyed the conversation we were having with each other, you know. And we talked about, that's one thing that was beautiful. We talked about everything. I mean, everything, you know, and the conversation was just so open and so comfortable, which is why it could go on for hours. Yeah. And, you know, I started feeling like, wow, this right here could be my soulmate.
Yeah. You knew in the beginning that this is, wow. Men always know. That's so funny.
Oh, we know. We know. We had that conversation, you know. It doesn't take us long. It doesn't take us long to figure that out.
Did you know, Donna, that this was probably going to be it right away?
Initially, when we were first talking, I thought it might be, and then I went through my doubts, and I kind of ghosted him for a couple of months.
Like a real Virgo.
You feel me, Orlando? Like, no, this is just too much.
It's like what happened to her.
Right.
Donna ghosted him. So Donna, on your Facebook the other day, and I thought this was really poignant. I really want you to expand on what you were saying. You talked about the loss and pain that you've endured, but you spoke of a blessing that has transcended all of that. Can you say more about what you were getting at there?
When I turned 50, what was that, 2013, I thought at that year that everything good that was going to happen to me had already happened. And I don't know how to explain how I just felt like my life was just going to go downhill from here. I was in a very, very, very unhappy marriage in a very unhappy place. I had a business and the business did not succeed. We had a house and I lost my house. And I literally had to start my life over again at 50. And so I just could not imagine ever having had what I had when I was 40, you see.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, a lot of women say, when you hit your 50s, those are the best years of your lives. And I was like, okay, well, mine feels like it's over. And so I listened to this song, River Rise, and the song really is so meaningful to me because when she said that she had lost her way and she was always this optimistic, positive person who had lost her ways, River Rise carried me away. I was just looking for something. And so I just engaged in prayer. And every day I just tried to be a blessing to everyone and everything and really just tried to get back to a place because with my business, I kind of lost contact with my mission. So it was more than just things. It was just getting lost. Like, how did I end up here so far from where I wanted to be? That's another song, so far from where I started out. I can do NDRE all day, but I'm not going to.
We'll put River Rise in the description. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, but it was just really, really amazing. And so, I slowly began to piece things back together in my life as I returned to my purpose, as I worked to mend relationships and really forgive myself and reinvest and start believing again. And so, it really, from a career professional standpoint in 2015, when I was offered the job at ECN, that was the beginning of a return. This is where I was supposed to be. And I felt it in my bones. This is what God placed me on earth to do, this kind of work, So if anybody says I'm not doing well, I'm doing my best, but I actually believe that I am doing work that I am purposed to do. I feel equipped to do it. And I feel as though I'm at my best when I am working around community problems and trying to do this kind of work. And so that became good. And then the other part was, I'm a very Virgo, so I'm a complicated person. I'm not somebody who I've ever seen as easy to love, right? And certainly everybody I've dated and been married to has told me that I'm not easy to love. So that was the message I had about myself, that I was not lovable, that I was too independent, too opinionated, too, people used to tease me and call me Angela Davis because of my political opinions. And people have tried to tone me down and shape me and mold me into something I just couldn't be. And then, I had this perception that any man worth anything wanted a woman who would serve his ego. And God did not create me to be an ego servant. I'm just too much my own person as I saw it. So I just figured, well, you'll just have to make do. And so I was in a whole lot of make do relationships, trying to allow myself, because I didn't want to be alone, to be with somebody who I could at least tolerate, and they could tolerate me, because I did not expect to really find love. And that was the blessing. That was such a surprise for me to find out that I really could meet and be with somebody who I loved, who loved me back as I loved them. Because I just didn't think that that was something that I was going to ever be blessed with, being as I am.
Hmm. Kevin, had you given up on love too? Had you given up, or
You know,
find yourself?
when I left my home and my marriage, I was in a lot of pain, and I experienced, major physical illness, and my mind was just totally out of sorts. And, at that point, I was, I was, I just really wanted to feel and experience some level of happiness at that point, because I was so unhappy. And love wasn't something I was even thinking of. I just wanted to be happy and comfortable. Um, and, it, I kind of struggled through a whole, year, maybe a little more than a year, maybe year and a half, you know, um, just trying to get my footing and get comfortable with this new life, as a single person. Um, and I didn't know what this love I would eventually have was going to look or feel like. I had no concept of it until I met Donna. And it was just, you know, something that just was mind blowing, because I didn't know this kind of love really existed. You have fantasies about that sort of thing, but to actually experience it and be in it, where you have this exchange with each other, and it's like it's one love together, and you're sharing everything, and you're learning that you enjoy thousands of different things. You like the same beans, and you like the same music, and you like to do the same things, and you're thinking the same way, and you know it was just amazing to be able to actually experience uh, what we have.
One of the things that is interesting to me, and I would love to get both of your takes on it, is I think that especially as the millennial generation and the generations to come after us, and even the Xers and Boomers, I think we are struggling. I think we're in a time when we're struggling deeply with comparative paralysis, because we have so much access to everybody via social media, and we see folks purport their lives in a way that is amazing, that looks very happy, especially those of us who are single, who have the desire to find love and have the desire to be married. But you all have managed to just stay true to your own journeys and go through your own journey. How, Donna, how did you do that in a world where, like, you see everybody else winning and you feel like your life is over at 50?
I tell you what, it's not easy. I think I was married when I was young, and I had 3 children, and I had this picture perfect life that was really, the opposite in reality. And I maintained this front, and to the point where when I finally left my abusive marriage, people said, I thought you had the perfect marriage. And I promised myself I would never, ever, ever be that dishonest with myself or with anybody else in the future, because the amount of freedom and just personal freedom was so important. And I finally achieved emotional freedom, and I refused to get back into that box. And so to a certain extent, it's just not been easy for me along the way to ever box myself in like that and try to play the role of being perfect. But for so long, what I did was I just didn't let people see any side of me. You know, you look at my Facebook post from 5 years ago, and I talked about Michigan football, politics. I talked about everything but me. And I might talk about my kids and my granddaughter, but I talked about everything but me. I was absent from the conversation. And when people would just make guesses about who I was and things about me, I get really irritated. But you know, it's hard because I remember there was one year, a couple of years, where people would just post these pictures of themselves being in married bliss, and I felt inadequate, you know.
Yeah.
And there was a period of time when I was the only person in my family who was divorced. So I'm around all of these seemingly perfect families who made all the right decisions, wondering what the hell was wrong with me, which contributed to my belief that I was not able to be in a loving relationship because everybody else could, but what about me? And so I think, you know, I had to always try to find my own joy, my own purpose, and to avoid comparison. But you cannot avoid sometimes feeling inadequate and sometimes feeling like, you know, where am I? I mean, when I tell you that I lost a lot and I had to rebuild my life, I mean everything about my life, my home, I had to rebuild, you know, everything. And so when you are around people who don't have to rebuild, who are your age, then they have it all.
Can I
And
just
you're
thank you for
still in the
saying
building
that,
phase.
I gotta
But
just
you know,
thank you for saying that because you are a president CEO of one of the most prominent community development nonprofits, and you have amazing kids, and you know folks will think that you are absent of any kind of real trouble or struggle, and so for you to be forthright and sharing that struggle and sharing that tremendous loss that you had and having to rebuild. I think you just freed so many people, Donna. You just freed so many people in their journeys.
you know, and I also want to say there's value in the valley. I
Woo,
think that
woo,
loss
woo.
and
I need the bell
pain,
again.
Right. Right.
Woo.
I
There's
That's
think
a
value in
nugget
the
right
valley.
there. Right.
Go ahead, finish.
I
Woo.
think that loss and pain helps build empathy.
Mm-hmm.
I think it helps build awareness. I think it helps build you into a better person. I think that my ability to relate to the feelings and experiences of people in the community that I now am so blessed to serve allows me to still fight. I think, you know, the flip side of having to renew your life when you're in your 50s is that you do become new. And it allows you also to not be so distant from young people because you're not somebody who has to remember this from 30, 40 years ago. Last week, you had a struggle. And so you can understand. And I think that, you know, one thing I appreciate is a blessing to be able to be at my age doing the things I do and looking at the world through renewed, rebuilt eyes, because that's, you know, a gift that everybody doesn't have. And so everybody has a different journey and nobody's life is supposed to be better than anybody else's. But when I do the comparison now, what I say is thank you, God, for giving me the ability to become new. And that's like I say, like a phoenix, I rise, you know, and I rise and I rise. And when you may try to knock me down, and I've had so many people try to knock me down, and I'm a Black woman, okay, a Black woman in America. And America does not love Black women. Okay, so in different ways, you have people knocking you down. But the reality is, I've believed, even sometimes in my darkest moments, that God had invested in me the ability to rise above and to keep on going. And so when I get past that, whatever it is that you go through, you wake up in the morning, you say, I'm going to try again. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving in. I'm not allowing people who want to defeat me to win, because I know God wants me to win. And I believe that, you know, love conquers hate. I believe that sometimes you have to believe in yourself, or you have to pretend to believe in yourself in order to begin to take those first steps. So you would not know that in 2016, where I was in my journey compared to where I am now. I didn't share with people. I didn't open up, but it was there. Journey was real, and I'm proud of it. You know, you have to own all parts of yourself too. You can't just own your highlights. You got to know your lowlights. Now, I'm not on Facebook talking about my lowlights, but anybody who knows me and loves me knows exactly what they are, because I never hid it from my friends.
That's right.
And maybe that's why some of my friends are celebrating, because they know that journey and they saw me there and come out of it. So it's not saying to be a blessing. I'm saying that because I think that you do have to tell your story as it is, so that people can understand that they have a pathway forward, you know?
Yeah. Kevin, can you talk about how COVID changed the way you guys were planning to celebrate wedding? COVID said, hey, bruh, I'm COVID. Y'all gotta take my way.
We had planned to have our wedding on October 24th of this year. You know, and so we were, you know, thinking of putting everything in place for that, and, you know, that everybody was going to be able to participate, all of the family and friends, you know, at the church or some other venue. And, you know, COVID changed all of that. Yeah. But probably what stands out to most for me is we spent 3 months together under COVID. And to me, it was like a vacation. You know, we just really enjoyed each other.
Canceled a lot of relationships, so that's great.
Yeah. We really enjoyed each other, as we do now. But, you know, I know it's been difficult for some couples, and it's been a blessing for others. But, you know, when we were finally able to, you know, see a little bit of daylight and get out from underneath this quarantine, we decided, well, let's just get married now. Forget about all this other stuff, you know, let's just simplify this thing. And so we just went ahead and, you know, and planned a wedding and had it outside at the Detroit Yacht Club, and had our family there, you know, kept it really simple and intimate, although, you know, others kind of forced us in a way to, you know, to kind of conventionalize certain things, you know.
Because they love you.
You know, our photographer, Andre Smith.
Can't wait to see.
I think I called him the day before, and he just showed up and just did a bang up job.
Your photographer the day before? Wow.
Yeah.
Because we were like, we don't have a photographer who could take pictures. And he was like, well, let me contact my friend Andre. So he called Andre, and Andre was asking us all these questions, like, where are you getting dressed?
Right.
I was like, at home. He was like, so
you gotta capture all of that, right? That's right.
Do you want me to capture you walking in? Absolutely not. We are not. This is really, you know, Luna became a flower girl, and Kylan became a ring bearer. I think we decided that about 2 or 3 days beforehand.
Right. Maybe less.
And so
Virgo is going crazy.
Right.
Because we just wanted to just have it be like standing under a tree and we exchange our vows. The end.
Real simple.
We even included my Brian Ellison as pastor. He was going to officiate by herself. And I was like, we have to invite him to co-officiate, because he said he wanted to marry. So I called him up and I was like, you know, he said, just tell me when. And so I told my sister, well, Brian's going to be co-officiating with you. And they had to work that out together. And so then we had my son and my nephew managing the Zoom. So my son created this video, and to our song So Good, El Giro. And then we sent him pictures, and then some people didn't like pictures, and we had to exchange pictures. And then my nephew did it, and we sent out the invitations. We got registered at the last minute, because it was not for us about the circumstance and the pomp and circumstance.
People were asking us, are you registered?
Where are you registered?
Right.
And I'm like, we are.
We are.
We went walking by Maggie's house, and Maggie said, where are you registered? So we went back and we registered and we put a few gifts on, and then people bought all of those gifts. We decided, okay, we better register for some more gifts, and we did. And we also invited people to contribute to the Charles Wright Museum.
Right.
We always raise money for EC, and I always do, but I felt like it was important for us to raise money for our museum.
Yes, absolutely.
Which Kevin happens to work at, but it's our museum. It's our culture. It's our people.
It belongs to the community.
And so we ended up raising about $650 for the museum, and that felt good.
Yeah. Listen,
She went out and bought her dress a few days before the wedding.
I was ready to say, y'all look so nice and coordinated.
Yeah, she said, it's purple. So I said, well, we're going to go and get a suit and a purple vest, purple tie, and we matched it up with the dress, and all this happened within a matter of days.
That's hilarious.
So
oh my God. That's hilarious.
It just became more formal than we had even imagined it would be.
Yeah.
We were keeping it real simple because we wanted so badly to just be married.
Yeah.
I was there virtually, and I was just so happy to be a part of the experience. I do have to say that both of you were upstage. We know it was your wedding, but you couldn't tell y'all's grandchildren that, okay? Especially Luna stole the show. It was about her. That was Luna's wedding. You hear me?
Listen, Luna has been watching Homecoming, and she got up on the stage, and she was like, "Wait a minute, Beyonce dances!" And she got up there and said, "I have to give a show." And so she did her best to give a little show for everybody. You know, Luna and Kylan are, we are so blessed with grandchildren who not only love us, but love each of us, you know? And so, and really.
Yeah, that's special. Yeah, it really is.
The most special thing to me was a few days before we got married, about a week before we got married, Kylan was visiting, and he looked at me, and he was playing with Luna, and Luna was acting a mess. She got some nail polish and painted the floor with her red nail polish. So yeah. See, there's like trials right before you're married. Like, are you still going? Is this still going to happen? Because we had nail polish painted, and she had it all over her body, and so you had to get it off. And Kylan just looked horrified by the whole thing. And you know, because Kevin taught Luna to paint, so now she thinks everything is her canvas. So
right.
Kevin for this.
Yeah, that's my fault.
Kevin's fault.
It is. I mean, you know, no, but it was, I thought she was upstairs with Kevin, but he was on the balcony, and he thought she was downstairs with me. It was just a little mix up. So anyway, Kevin looked at me afterwards. He says, "So is Luna going to be my cousin?" And I said, "Yes." And then he was over, and I was on a meeting with somebody, and he was putting his head in the meeting. And so right before the meeting, he looked at me, he said, "Wait, so are you going to be my grandmother?" And I said, "Yes." And so I introduced him as my grandson. And he just looked at me. And after that, he was in every single meeting that I had, so I could introduce him as my grandson. And that just felt really special.
With his head on her shoulder.
Yes, with his head on my shoulder.
That's two becoming one. What would be your, for our listeners, guys, who are probably now just so inspired and all googly and moogly on the inside, what would be your parting message to those who are listening who may have found themselves in your journey, or a piece of your journey that you both described today? What do you have to say to them?
Number one, Satan is a liar. So when people tell you what you are not, what you cannot, who you are not, why they do not, it's a lie.
Yes.
Okay. And the more we internalize those lies, the more paralyzed we become as we move forward. So the first thing is, don't believe the lies. Okay. Everybody is God's child. Everybody is lovable to somebody. Okay.
That's
not the same somebodies, but that's
right.
why we're all different and special. So, you know, everybody's not for everybody. So I think, you know, at least for me, buying into that is really important. Hold on to your dreams, because you can have a dream that you're going to have something, and then people will talk you out of your dream. Men ain't no good. You know, these women ain't no good. And we get to this point where we're characterizing people and dehumanizing each other because of bad experiences. If I have a bad experience with one person, that does not connote men. even if it's 2 or 3, that's not men. First of all, you chose these idiots. Okay? You chose, because at some point each party had to consent. Okay, so you don't get to put it on the other gender, because everybody's not like the people you've been with. Those are the people you chose, and if you chose badly, you can choose well. And then the final thing I'll say is that Kevin and I talked a good month before we ever sat down and met each other. And so it forced us into a friendship. I was just scared, you know. I was like, I'm afraid of everything. But I think that really you have to be a friend with somebody before you can have, I think, true love with somebody. You can have true attraction and infatuation, but that friendship has to be the base on which you build everything else. And, you know, it's got to be friendship and attraction. Because friendship without attraction, I've done that too. That doesn't work, right? It's like you can try to fake it, but you can't fake that.
Right, that's right.
Oh, I love you, baby. You don't. But you gotta, you know. So the other thing is just be real. You know, I found myself over my lifetime pretending certain things because I thought that was what was expected of me, and then you start lying to yourself, and then you become a lie. Okay, and so you want to make sure that you have that that you hold yourself accountable for your integrity, because you do nobody any favor pretending to feel something that you don't. They can tell you don't feel it.
Yeah.
And you're only harming yourself. So that's my advice.
Yeah. Sure. So my advice is we are the sum of our experiences.
Absolutely.
And so you know, we have to take the good with the bad, and, you know and understand that, you know, who we are right at this moment is a culmination of all of that. And so there's an appreciation that I have for Donna that I might not have had 20 years ago. There's some things that happened, you know, that allows me to see her in a different kind of way, you know. So bad relationships, they become your examples of what not to do, you know. Good relationships, you take the good out of that, you know. And so it's prepare you for the relationship you end up in, you know. And so we always have that conversation, you know. We can love and appreciate each other because of what we've gone through, for one thing, you know. And the other point is that, you know, you have to stay focused on building yourself, you know, because people are going to tear you down, you know. You got to continue to build yourself spiritually, physically, mentally, and, you know, you have to be totally comfortable and happy with yourself, you know. And that way you're bringing something into the relationship, you know, that's going to be of great benefit to the longevity of it. So that's what I have to say about it.
All right, well said. If you have topics that you want discussed on Authentically Detroit, you can hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Authentically Detroit, or email us at authenticallydetroit@gmail.com. Shout out to my employer, Bridge Detroit, for reaching our 100-day milestone. We started out saying we wanted to publish like twice a week, and we literally publish every day. So 100 days in. I want to give notice about our Kids in COVID series. So I'm sitting down with young people all over the city of Detroit to talk about their experiences, ending the school year early, their summer, and how they feel about going back to school in the fall, whether virtual or face-to-face. And we spoke with Yinde Perry last week, who gave a fantastic interview. It's so powerful hearing from young people directly. So you can head over to bridgedetroit.com to get that series. Shout out to all of the families who mourn the loss of their loved ones today. We are thinking and praying for you. And to all of our guests while Donna was away, thank you to Jermaine Ruppin, to Alan Penniman, and Arthur Jemison for coming on. And this week we will be releasing 2 episodes. That's right. So you're going to hear this episode, and we will be sitting down with State Senator Adam Ollier this week as well, and you'll be able to hear that interview. Donna, Kevin, any shout out?
Shout out to Rima Vassar,
Yes.
who was elected at the Michigan Democratic Party convention yesterday as
Dr.
a
Rima.
nominee for one of 2 nominees for Michigan State Trustee. Shout out to Eva Garza Duwash, as well as my friend Shirley Stancato for being selected as Wayne State University trustees. I want to shout out to Ayende Perry because that interview gave me life. I was in Orlando for staging the interview and keeping things going. That was really exciting. And I want to shout out to Angela Brown Wilson, who, as deputy director, held down the fort while I was gone. You don't get to take time off. I took 3 whole consecutive weeks off of work in August. And when I tell you I did almost no work, I'm not lying. I was barely reading emails, giving people a side eye for trying to schedule anything with me. Angela handled her business, and that's what happens when you have a deputy director who is a responsible, caring, loving person. The staff at ECN, shout out to all of the staff because they wanted me to be off. If I made a mistake and answered the email, they say, you are off of work. I don't want to hear from you again. And I didn't come back to a stalled ship. I came back to so much work they had in front of me. I had to sign this and do that, but everything kept moving. And that's the way life is supposed to go. Where you have a team, other people can pitch hit and step into your role. So I want to shout out to the entire ECN team, as well as to our board members who supported me being gone for that period of time.
Kevin, do you have any shout outs?
My shout out goes to the Black Lives Matter protests who are out there, day in and day out, every night, being, sprayed and beaten and killed out here, protesting for African-American men and women and those and other minorities who are experiencing this systemic racism on all levels in this country. And they are making a difference in changing this society.
And people say,
amazing.
They're not making any difference. Can we just look at all the laws and policies that have changed since they've been out there on the streets and quit pretending like they have no impact?
Right.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you all for this. Kevin, thank you for joining us. To our listeners, thank you. We're back. Thank you so much for listening. We want you to catch the wave. Until next time.